How do you make the lights in the background of your image turn into different shapes? I'll show you right after the intro.
Ask David Bergman.
Hey, welcome back to Ask David Bergman. Of course, here I am answering your photography questions. Don't forget to go to AskDavidBergman.com. Ask your own photo questions there, and I'll answer the best ones right here on a future show. Today, I've got one from P. Barat, and he asked, how do you make star-shaped bokeh in pictures? Now, first of all, if you know what I'm talking about, usually I would say bokeh, and a lot of people say bokeh. But it's actually a Japanese word that means haze or blur, and I've talked to some Japanese friends, and it's really pronounced bokeh. So I'm going to try my best to not mess that up. I probably will a few times, but it is actually bokeh. So what are we talking about photographically when we're talking about bokeh? What we mean is when we shoot with a really shallow depth of field and our background goes out of focus and the foreground goes out of focus as well, we're talking about the quality of that out of focus area. Does it look pleasing? Is it a good look? Is it something that really makes our subject pop off of that background? That is really the quality there, is actually the bokeh. And we're always striving to make it look really, really nice. So one of the ways we can do it is by using a really good lens like this. This is the Canon 85 1.4, and when you shoot wide open at 1.4, those aperture blades are open all the way, and when you focus on something in the foreground, like we have Megan in the studio here, you can see that background. We have those little specular lights, those little twinkle lights we put up on the background. You can see they go really out of focus and they turn into these big white circles, and it looks really, really pleasing. Now, one of the reasons you buy a nice lens like this is because it has 8 or 9 aperture blades in it, and because it's open all the way, those aperture blades create a nice even circle, and that's the shape of those lights in the background. If we were using a lesser expensive lens, maybe an entry-level lens that only had 5 or 6 aperture blades, it would actually look different, and those lights would be more of a pentagon or a hexagon because that's the shape of those blades. So now that you know that it's actually the diaphragm blades and the way the light is coming through there that causes the look of those lights in the background, we know now that we can change that. So the simplest way is literally by putting a piece of cardboard or something black in front of the lens and cutting a shape on there. And if you do that, first of all, you're going to block some light from coming in. So make sure you compensate for your exposure. If you do that, you have to either bump up your ISO or slow down your shutter speed to let more light in because you're blocking so much light. But when you do that, you'll see that those lights in the background actually take the shape that you have created in the front. Now, if you don't want to do the arts and crafts and make it yourself, there's a couple other ways to do it. Adorama sells a Bokeh Masters kit that already has cutout shapes, and it's formed to the right size, and it makes it pretty easy to do. It only works on lenses with smaller filter diameters, so I can't actually use it on this setup, but for maybe an APS-C camera with a corresponding lens, it might work really, really well on that. It's fun to play around with. But there is another way. The company Lensbaby, they've been around a long time. I'm a big fan of their stuff. You can buy optics from them that you take your lens off and you put this lens on, and what it allows you to do is create these sort of old-fashioned, maybe plastic lens looking effects where there's a sweet spot in the middle and then the outsides go out of focus, and they've got a number of different lenses that do different things. And this is called the Composer Pro, and then you put the optic inside of here and you can buy different optics and swap them out to get the effect you want. But one of the ones that they have is called the Creative Bokeh Optic, and you put that in there, and that lens actually comes with a bunch of these little discs, and these discs all have separate shapes on them, and the discs are magnetic, and you stick them inside the lens and they stick there, and once that's in there, it's the same thing as if you covered the lens with a piece of cardboard and cut out your own shape. It's just a little bit more elegant way to do it. So now when we take a picture of Megan, once I put that insert in there with the star on it, look at those lights in the background. They actually turn into stars. So it's really a cool effect. This kit comes with a bunch of different shapes and a few of those discs so you can cut your own. You could write your name in it if you wanted to, or your initials, and have all the little specular lights in the background turn into whatever it is that you want. Now, it does change depending on how close or how far away you are. The further away you are from those lights, the more they're going to go out of focus. But this is really not something you're going to do every day. It's just kind of a fun, creative thing to play around with. So That's how you change the shape on those out of focus things in the background. So thanks for asking that question. Listen, don't forget, I said it in the beginning, but if you have your own photo questions, I'm right here. Just go to AskDavidBergman.com, submit the form there, and I will answer them on the next show. And also, of course, subscribe. You're already watching Adorama TV. There's so much great free photo content here from a bunch of different people. So make sure you subscribe and get notifications so you don't miss anything. Thanks so much for joining me. I'll be back here on Ask David Bergman next week. I'll see you then.